Hello, welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 168. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isli
Yo.
and Messiah.
Hello.
And again, another light week. Not a whole lot happening. But I did save a couple articles. One of the big ones that happened was that Bethesda officially became the first Microsoft game studio to fully unionize.
Yeah, that was surprising.
That was
I
very
didn't
shocking.
expect that.
Yeah. It's a wall-to-wall union of developers. They're artists, engineers, programmers, designers, and Microsoft has recognized it. So I'll be really curious how that goes for them, and then will it, inspire other folks and studios to kind of do the same thing.
How many studios are actually unionized? Because I know this was the first one at Microsoft, but I can't imagine there are like very many that are unionized at all.
Hardly any. I got a mouthful
Yeah.
of food. Yeah, not many at all. Like they tried Blizzard. I think their QA team tried, and then they gutted the QA team. So it
Wasn't
was like,
Riot tried to do that too?
I think Riot did, and I think if I remember, they hired like that big anti-union lawyer or something. That's what
right.
they do.
Mm-hmm.
For like Amazon and everybody else, and it's just it didn't.
What a fucking profession to choose.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. So I know the main like union argument is it better working conditions? Does that lead to better productivity? And a lot of people say yes, or is it could increase times for development? And it'll be really interesting to see how Bethesda changes after this. I don't think it could change for the worse given their timelines and working conditions. So I have to imagine. I kind of hope it's a positive change for them.
They still have to negotiate contract with Microsoft, and then IGN reached out to Microsoft. Microsoft said, "quote We are so excited to announce our union at Bethesda Game Studios, enjoying the movement sweeping across the video game industry." I don't know how much it's really sweeping because hardly anybody's got their union going. It is clear that every worker can benefit from bringing democracy into the workplace and securing a protected voice on the job. We're thrilled to get down to brass tacks. People love those words. And win a fair contract, proving that our unity is a source of real power to positively shape our working conditions, our lives, and the company as a whole. Yeah, I guess. I guess Sega of America unionized earlier this year. I must have missed that entirely. But yeah, I know that Microsoft said that they wouldn't block any potential Activision Blizzard union because I know obviously that didn't go well the first time around. But that's because fucking Bobby Kotick, right? But I'm sure they'll probably maybe go at it again. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But and then what kind of terms they negotiate with Microsoft. But yeah, it was a big piece of news, kind of a big win. It kind of was silent too. Like not many people were talking. Granted, this news was from yesterday, or maybe not yesterday, maybe on Friday. But so it's kind of like end of the week kind of news. So that's usually why most people don't talk about. But even on like socials, like because I follow a lot of gaming outlets and gaming people, and it didn't seem like I saw much talk about it. So either people just slow to it, or they're out. They're not really paying attention at the end of the week. But we'll see what they say this coming week.
Yeah.
And then the only other bits of news I have is one is at Nintendo. I saw this and I saved it because I thought it was hilarious. They finally announced an official Joy-Con charging stand 7 years after launch. Now there's an official charging stand for your extra Joy-Cons or even your regular Joy-Cons from Nintendo, which is so funny.
Has that seriously never existed?
Mm-hmm.
Not an official one, no.
Not from Nintendo.
Holy shit. Yeah. I had no idea.
I'm going to conspiracy theory this and say that this is because the next console is also going to use the Joy-Cons.
That would make sense. Yeah.
It would make sense, but this is Nintendo we're talking about, so it would be even funnier if they release this and the next console has its own controllers.
It's interesting too because like you've seen this kind of stuff where like an example would be like Pro controllers before Sony made one. You license out the controller to other developers like Scuff Gaming so that they can like modify the controller and make a pro version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, how much of a cut is Sony getting from that? And then in this case of Nintendo, it's just a charging station. So was it like, it's not worth making it, we'll just let third parties do it? But I'm like, isn't that just a potential revenue stream that because you can put your Nintendo Premium cost on it, and then or was it like, no, if we do that, people will just get the cheaper version off Amazon or whatever. Like, I'm surprised they would just not do that. But yeah, it was pretty nuts. I was like, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, because I never even considered buying one because I have like I think I have 2 extra Joy-Cons, maybe, or one. I think it might be one just because so we could play like 3-player Mario Party. It's like I'll just buy the one and then I guess rotate it on the Switch to charge it. I've never looked into like actually getting a charging station, but yeah, it was just weird stuff. I was like, okay, there you go. And then the last bit of news was that the long-awaited patch 7 for Baldur's Gate 3 has been given a bunch of details on the Baldur's Gate Steam page. They kind of outlined a lot of the stuff. It's due out in September. Big notes on like, there's going to be expanded endings for like the Dirge, like more options for evil endings, either if you are the Dirge origin character or if you're just an evil character of, someone else or your own. And I'm just going to be like,
Be kind of interesting.
yeah,
There
expanded
were a
stuff
good
there.
number of endings already. It's not like there was nothing, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I like the idea of having different, like being evil as Dirge, having its own unique endings versus just being evil as a regular character, either you created or one of the origin characters. Dynamic split screen mode is coming, so that'll be in the next update. So like typically we've seen this in other games, where like usually if you're in the same spot, like it'll just be one screen, and then if your characters diverge too much from each other, then it will turn into split screen. So that's cool that's coming. I mean, I'm surprised games that have split screen that are like this, like top down, because I think either like they either don't have it, like Diablo, where it's like, oh, you can't run to the edge of the screen, or they do have this option. I'm wondering how hard that is to be like, hey, let's do the split screen, render 2 different things, and if you're on the same spot, keep it as one image. But
I can't remember, how did Divinity do it?
Divinity, I never played Divinity split screen, so I can't tell you. I never played it local, so I have no idea because I've only played multiplayer online, so I've never played local co-op in the game. But I'd imagine it's probably just split screen and not that dynamic because of that came out on PS4, so who knows if that would have been tough to do on there. Although I think there have been PS4 games that did that. But there's also improvements like honor mode, getting a bunch of changes. Like there's new legendary actions for characters and whatnot, enemies really. Also, the Baldur's Gate 3 modding toolkit will be coming out. There's a big list on that. Bug fixes. There's some changes for certain characters. So there's a whole list where like they cover highlights for each of the characters and how they're changed. They're improving like banter, which I really like. I like when they fix some of the banter. And one of the funny things is they're doing some. One of the Karlach things they're doing is that she'll no longer brush the shaved side of her head during her camp idle animation. Wrong side, Karlach. So I was like, I thought that was funny. It's like, yeah,
she's just doing like what I do with my undercut and just kind of like fluffing it a little.
Yeah, just feeling it. It's a texture thing. But yeah, a couple of tweaks for character stuff. Nothing crazy. But speaking of Baldur's Gate, I saw an article that popped up in my feed where PC Game reported that a Baldur's Gate 3 player discovered a hidden Miniquest that you can get in Act 3. So, spoilers for Baldur's Gate. We've all beat it, obviously, but for anybody else. So when you collect the Nether Stones, the person was wondering, like, what would happen if I just lost them in a place you can't go back? So, like, the Iron Throne.
Sorry, I'm laughing because like I remember people testing this way at the start and not being able to figure it out. So I'm excited to hear what the result is.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get here. But these activities will change depending on your action. So he tried dropping them off, like put them on the ground in the underwater throne to see what would happen, because obviously you only go there once and then you come back and you can't go back anymore. And it says by default, if you do that, by default they're carried by one of the Sahagins in the ambush that occurs in the area. But what if you've already killed them? Then if you've already killed those enemies, there's a fishmonger old troutman who is just character has no impact on the game whatsoever, will find the stones and sell them to you for like super cheap. But if you murder that guy as well, then instead the stones are in a dead fish that washed up on shore back in Baldur's Gate. So you can find them there. And that's not all. He also wanted to try to see what would happen if you drop the stones in the Stillwatch Foundry before blowing it up. And you get a similar thing where a bunch of kobolds will spawn in the south side of the burning factory, with one of them having looted the stones from the rubble, and you have 5 turns to kill them once you trigger the encounter, or else you'll get hit with the unique Lost the Netherstones game over ending. So it's funny that they're like, for the Iron Forge, like, okay, well, if you drop it there, then there'll be an ambush that occurs, and it'll be in one of these guys. And it's like, okay, well, what if that guy's already dead? Well, then we'll give it to this NPC they'll sell to you. Or what if you killed the NPC for some reason? Okay, well, then it's in a dead fish carcass. Like, I like these, like, backup plans on backup plans, just to, like, try to not let the player character. But I'm curious, like, how it would also, like, does it tell you, hey, you lost the stones, find the stones, and, like, how would you go to go check the fish? Like, 'cause it doesn't say here, like, how he figured out they were in the fish, but I'm assuming there must be some sort of, like, psychic thing that it tells the player, like, the stones are nearby or some shit like that. But I thought that was really funny. Like, hey, let's, because typically if you, like, drop them down like a bottomless pit, you just get you lose the absolute wins kind of situation. But yeah, I thought that was a really funny and kind of interesting to test out. Be like, hey, what happens if I get rid of these stones that are omega important to the game? But
I love that they have to come up with all of these contingencies for the player just being an absolute menace.
yeah, what if
They're like,
player
well,
does
what
this?
happens if the player's just like, I don't want these anymore, or like accidentally drops them or something and doesn't notice?
Yeah, that's like all the stuff that they would patch early on, like, oh, if you put a character's corpse into a crate and then yeet that crate off the cliff, the character will still show up back at camp or can be respawned at Withers. Like, these weird things that people would do, like, oh, when you send a player back to camp, but then you blast them off a cliff, they will still, like, get back to camp somehow, or you have to revive them. Like, these weird things that players would do to just, like, mess with the game. And they
I
would,
really wish they had patched in, like, if you do that, if you put them in a barrel and eat them off a cliff and they appear at camp, I really want them to patch in a voice line that's just like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
And like, Gale disapproves.
Yeah, that would be really funny. But yeah, good time span. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the news. There wasn't a whole lot this week. I know Flintlock Siege of Dawn came out on Game Pass. Seems to be doing okay. Getting about 7s around that range. I was like, well, I could play it on Game Pass since I activated it, so I could play Grounded with Isli. We haven't played it yet. So I'm like, okay, my Game Pass trial is slowly expiring. It's like I could play that, but I don't know if I'll get to it right away because the Concord beta has been going on as well. They did the closed beta for people the closed alpha last weekend for people who pre-ordered the game, and then the open beta is this weekend for PC and console. And I was thinking about playing that, but I'm like, that comes out so soon, and I'm probably just going to pick it up anyways. So like, I don't want to play the beta and then have to go back and do it again and all that jazz. But yeah, we can go ahead and move into what we've been playing. Go ahead and start with you, Isli. I know last time we spoke, you hadn't been playing too much.
Yeah, I finally started playing Alan Wake 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So far I will say not super far in.
Oh, wait. Not before you get into it. Are you gonna? Because I know when they announced the physical copy, and you said you were interested in getting it because it was on sale. Are you still gonna get the physical copy later, or are you just kind of like resigned to, since it was digital only at first, you're just sticking with digital?
I'm just sticking with digital, but I realized why you were talking sass to me and stuff, which is I was talking about the deluxe edition digitally being on sale.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was a digital. I thought the digital or the deluxe edition was only for physical.
Nope. So there's a digital one as well, and that's what I was trying to get on sale. But yeah, so
Okay.
I bought Alan Wake 2. For starters, I like the combat and controls of it far more than the first game. Like, I can see why playing 2 you would recommend it. I would have been confused had you recommended the first game based off of the controls. So enjoying that far more. There are some things I kind of miss though, like the flashlight in 2 not having any effect unless you're focusing it. Whereas in the first game, if you aren't focusing it, it still eliminates darkness. It just does it way slower. So that was kind of like a weird change they made that I'm sure I'm not far enough yet to kind of like have a bunch of horror elements to it where it really feels tense or like there's a survival aspect. But I'm guessing it's because they wanted to make the game have a better survival feel, which I think I commented that I really didn't feel like the first game actually captured at
So
all.
I didn't play the first game. So if having it not focused in the first game still damages the enemies, does it always drain your battery when your flashlight is out in the first one?
No.
Okay, so
So
it only does it when you do the focus charge? in
yeah,
the first
it
one as well?
only drains
Okay.
your battery when you're doing the focus charge in the first game, and if you aren't focused, you actually restore battery power. And if
I
you
will say
aren't
real
focused, yeah, go ahead.
real quick. There are how far, like what chapter are you on?
Like 2.
Okay, yeah. So you haven't got to Alan yet. Like Alan, you're still just playing as Sage, or no, not Sage. Is it?
Okay, so this ties into my second question of, can you just bounce back and forth between the two of them?
Eventually.
Okay.
Once you get Alan available, then you can jump. What's her name? Sister Sage messed me up from The Boys. What's the character's name?
God, now you just put it in my head. Oh man. Now I'm
Now her name
picturing
is
her
Sage.
sister Sage. Yeah.
I feel like I'm going crazy, right?
Why am I
What's the other main character's name?
Saga.
Saga Anderson. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
oh my god. I
it
was
was.
like,
I
you're
knew it
right.
was an
It's
S
Sage.
name.
It's obviously Sage.
It was an S
No, it's
name,
not
and
Sage.
Sage just messed me up from freaking The Boys. Okay.
It's literally just one letter off.
Yeah, right. Exactly. One vowel, man. But yes,
That part will
you
be
can
cut out.
switch. You can switch between them, and then there are. I will say to your complaint about the unfocused light. There
Well, not
are
really complaint, just that I like
miss
it's an
it.
interest. Yeah, I kind of miss it, and it's an interesting change.
It's still in play. There are like it's not spoilers at all, but like for Alan and even Saga later on, there are moments where like there's like shadow figures, but not. And I'm assuming it's the same way in the first game, where not all of them are enemies. Some are just like echoes. And if you just shine the light on them but don't do the focus because that drains your battery charge, if they're a non-enemy, it will start to disperse them and then they'll disappear. So it's like it's not, and then versus normal enemies, it won't damage them, but it will like identify that this is an actual threat, not just like an illusion, I guess, or an echo.
No, that does not exist in the first game.
So yeah, okay. So you still having it unfocused is still helpful in Alan Wake 2. It won't do damage, but it helps identify threats. But anyways,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So in the first game, if you aren't focusing your flashlight, it still damages the darkness. It just does it way slower, and you can recharge. So like a good strategy in the first game on like the higher difficulties is you do like a quick burst of the focus to like stun the enemy, and then after you stun them, they kind of like recoil for like a second or so, and while they're recoiling, then you can just use your normal thing, recharge a little bit of your flashlight, still damage their darkness, and then when they like try to attack you again, you just stun them again. So you just kind of like press stun occasionally. It's more of a stun button as opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, like controls, I could really only speak to like the start of it. So like controls way better. Seems to have really nice graphics. Yeah, the impression I get of the story so far is that it's still kind of like samey in the sense that it's still kind of like a weird, twisted little story. Seems like it might even go further off the rails. They got the only thing I'm like kind of curious about, and I don't mind if you spoil this lightly, is like, should I have replayed or watched a YouTube video about Control prior to playing Alan Wake 2? Because I haven't played Control since it first came out, and while I remember like the general gist of Control, I also remember the Alan Wake DLC in Control, and I I remember it existed. I don't remember anything that happened in the Alan Wake DLC in Control.
Yeah, there's the Alan Wake DLC in Control isn't really. It has nothing to do with this game. I think it's like that is related to a character from the first game. Like it's a first game character, like side character, who's in the Control DLC. But in this game, you don't need to replay it. No, you like they do mention the Bureau of Control. Like you see that little like research
Yeah.
building, and then they are mentioned, but you don't like it's not in a way that like would benefit you to replay Control to be like, oh, what is it like? If you know what the Bureau of Control is, that's all you need to know. Like there's
Okay.
no like, yeah, you don't have to worry about anything else. So, I do like Alex Casey though and it's just because I don't know, it's something about seeing like a creator in their game, but like obviously not their voice. It's just that the conversations he has with Anderson are just I don't know why I like that kind of banter that characters have, like buddy cops, buddy FBI, stuff like that. It's just I don't know, it's just fun. I like that the Alex Casey character.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saga's a great character too. So
yeah, no, I've enjoyed it so far. It plays a lot better. I like it more than like gameplay wise. I like it a lot more than the first game. I'm excited to see how the back and forth character swapping goes. I sort of already know from like headlines and things that the ending is not the most concrete, which I think kind of makes sense in this. I'm enjoying it so far. I'll probably play the hell out of it this week. See when I finish it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious how you'll handle the character swapping because like I just did like because I think when I was playing, I wasn't playing along with MinMax's Deepest Dive. I was just listening to their deep dive as I got past their like where their checkpoints were in the story. But I think like the way I did it was I just did like Alan Wake like as far as I could go, and then I just switched over to play Saga, which is really fun. Well, it was fun for me because it's like there's bits where like there are like story beat crossovers. So it was fun to see it like from Alan's side and then going back and then later seeing it from Saga's side and being like, oh, this is that part where I was here. Versus like if you were to do like, okay, one chapter Alan, one chapter Saga, one chapter Alan, one chapter Saga, which I feel like would be a little too jarring to bounce back and forth like that. Like, or you can even do like a three chapter situation. But yeah, you'll be able to do that. Like they allow you to switch. Like they don't stop you. I think you just can't switch in. I don't remember if they allow you to switch like when you're mid chapter, like mid in the sense that you're like midway through a level. Like I think the switch, this location that lets you switch is typically no. Now I think about it, I think maybe they are some save rooms. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it, but I think they make sure you're like at a good way through a chapter before they allow you to. That way you're not just like some random save room somewhere and like okay, switch over.
Right.
But yeah, it's a
seems fun. Enjoying it so far.
Yeah,
I will play more.
I am curious because like I was gonna replay it like because if you replay it like that's how you get like the quote unquote true ending, which is really just an extended ending. And I was kind of bummed because I was like, yeah, I feel like it obviously it came out same time as Starfield, but like the way Starfield does their NG Plus, I was like, man, I feel like if they had more time, like I would have liked to see them do a little more with their New Game Plus to make it more unique of a playthrough. Like there's small, very small, minute changes, and usually it's just like stuff that you find, like collectibles that kind of hint that this one, like the script page said this, and in the first playthrough, and now it says this. Like there's not enough different. Whereas I feel like they could have really gone into that because a New Game Plus fits the lore just like it does in Starfield, right? And I was like, oh man, they could have like there's potential to do more there, and I was kind of bummed because I wish there was a bit. So I just like instead of like I started NG Plus and I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just gonna because I wanted to play something else because I was like, why am I doing this? I'll just watch it on YouTube. And I just watched it. I was like, okay, but yeah, I still even though the ending's like when it came out because you had to wait for that New Game Plus ending, it wasn't available at launch. Despite like the ending being kind of like cliffhangery, I still enjoyed the journey. I thought the game is gorgeous. They're great engine. I've seen watch people play it on PC, which is max setting, looks real good. But yeah, even on console still looks great. And yeah, just good time. I really like the game a lot.
Yeah. Seems I'm enjoying it a lot. It seems really fun so far. Excited to play more. I'm also excited to see what the changes are between 1 and 2, aside from kind of the obvious of the two protagonists, the flashlight small changes. I'm sure there are going to be more little things that I notice, and then when I ask you about them, I'm curious what your response or reaction will be.
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
it feel like more of a survival game into, because I think one of my biggest, not complaints, but one of the biggest surprises to me when I bought 1 is I knew generally kind of the style of the game, but I always saw it kind of billed as a horror game. And I think I mentioned to you that it felt much more like Uncharted to me than a horror game. And I'm curious if Alan Wake 2 actually feels like a survival horror game, or if you would categorize it as something else.
Yeah, I would say, having not played 1, 2 definitely felt more like survival horror in that Resident Evil kind of way with resources. Although I never felt like I was shy on resources, despite playing on the harder difficulty.
Hmm.
I maybe that was just me being nailing my shots and just playing well versus missing a bunch, or maybe I did my upgrades. Maybe it was just happenstance that my experience with games of this type was extremely beneficial, and it didn't feel like I had to, there were obviously situations where I ran into, I'm like, oh man, I really went through a lot of my resources because either I wasn't expecting something to happen. But yeah, there are, especially the Alan Wake sections, and there are some spots where it's just super eerie in that Dead Space kind of way, where you're running around, and you're like, oh man, what's gonna happen here?
Right.
There are some there are some good spots like that. A lot of it is real good. Yeah, and I love. It sucks that James McCaffrey passed away, because doing the voice of Alex Casey, obviously he was Max Payne in the original games, but just his voice is so good. I don't know why I really like that voice. It's just, especially in that game, just casual conversations with Saga. It's just, I'm not even going to attempt to imitate it because I'll just butcher it. But just that gravelly voice, it's just, I really like it. Yeah, I'm so glad you're playing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it. I bought that, and then I also picked up a few other games during the summer sale. I picked up I did pick up Liza P.
Yes.
I picked up Aetern, and I also picked up Aetern and Noctis, which is a Metroidvania that every time I Google Metroidvanias or try to find a new Metroidvania that I haven't played, this one is always mentioned. So we'll see what I actually end up thinking about it.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad you're playing 2 games that I really enjoyed, especially Liza P, because I can't wait to talk about Liza P. Man, I fucking love that game.
Just so excited now.
Well, yeah, because it's like when if we all play the same game at the same time, it's great because then we can have similar conversations.
Yeah.
Or either 2 of us do. It's like, okay, we're playing Assassin's Creed, Zaya and myself. We could talk about it, or whatnot. But now that you're finally playing these games that I had no one to talk to about when I played them, it's like,
yeah, I'm gonna also enjoy seeing what you thought of the story, having watched a YouTube video of 1 and not played 1, and whether your experience was better or worse. Just because I got so frustrated with DLC and controls and how dated Alan Wake 1 is, that I was kind of debating not even getting to. So yeah, it'll just be fun. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that really, that's kind of why. I was listening to Ryan McCaffrey talk about it on the IGN Unlocked podcast, and he was kind of saying yeah, because I think someone else on there was they had never played the first one, and they were debating whether or not to play and or watch it before playing Alan Wake 2, and he was definitely a camp when they came out with the remasters. He's he loves them, but that's because he played them when they came out, so he's fine with that kind of jank that they have. But he definitely said it could be tough to do that. It was kind of his conversations about that were kind of led me to be okay, I'm not gonna replay this game that has kind of these iffy controls, and it might not play super well, so I don't want to sour my expectation for 2. But yeah, good times. You got to stream yourself playing it in Discord or something.
Hell yeah.
Gotta watch it. Especially Liza P. You gotta stream that. I want to watch Liza P. But what about you, Zai? You've been playing. I'm assuming you're playing Dawntrail. I know I asked you the other day if you were playing something. You're like, oh, I'm making dinner, getting ready to play Dawntrail.
Yeah, we're still finishing the MSQ and Dawntrail, but we're almost done with it. We're on the what I'm assuming is the last quest because it's called Dawntrail, and we logged out last night right in front of the final boss again. We always seem to do this where we play all day and then we get to the final boss and it's like 11 o'clock or midnight, and it's like we gotta go to bed. We can't do this right now. So we did this with Endwalker too. So we'll probably finish it today if we both have a chance to get on and play. But other than that, I've just been playing Elden Ring. Still picking away at the DLC. I don't want to say too much because obviously spoilers, but I did find an area that's just straight up a horror game, and I'm glad that I'm done with it. It was a very unsettling place to go through, but the boss at the end was very, very cool. So that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, I just now am at the point again where I'm stuck behind two bosses that suck and I don't really want to do because they're just hard for no reason. But I need to get those done because it's really the only thing that I have blocking progress now. So we'll see what happens.
I was listening to someone talk about Dawntrail, and they said that the NPCs in the zone they have like American accents. Is that the case?
Yes. Yes.
That's so funny to me.
There's a zone that is basically all themed around American, like Wild West kind of thing. It's a very, it's where you get to the end of the zone and the gear that you start getting is very like Mad Max-esque, but it's all, I mean, I probably have screenshots. I can drop some screenshots in the general chat or something, but it's all like, it's literally like Old West themed, and it's all like old buildings, and there's characters. They all of the characters are machinists because they have to have guns, so they're just like having duels and stuff. And yeah, there's like kind of like Old West Southern accents, like Texas kind of accents and stuff. It's very jarring. Like you go through the first half of the expansion and it's all like Peruvian and like Brazil and those kind of accents, and then you go to the other half of the continent and it's like, this is just Texas.
Yeah, that's what someone said. Yeah, because they're talking about like how in normal games, like everyone's got their British accents and everything. And I was like, yeah, that's very Final Fantasy. And they're like, but then there's just these characters with these American accents that threw me off. Like, I need to like watch a video clip because I'm so curious like how it sounds from what I remember so much of 14 just being those more. I don't
have very many screenshots. I do have this one. I'll drop it in the general chat. It's a stupid screenshot, but you can see in the back, it's like. It looks like an old like saloon ghost town almost, kind of.
Yeah, this is like a movie set they'd save to film some stuff. Yeah.
And then there's this one NPC. She's like the train driver, but for some reason I feel like she looks like the boss.
Yeah, she kind of does.
She does, right?
The
She's
hair,
got that same kind of
very
face.
much.
The hair, the face, yeah. But she's a cat.
Which will it be, Jack? Loyalty to your country or loyalty to me?
I will say that's. Speaking of kind of that Elden Ring in the DLC, there's a lot of bridges, and I love the fact that when you walk up to a bridge, you see a bunch of like message stones all over it, and you can absolutely guess what every one of them says. And it's very funny to walk across the bridge and just see a bunch of messages that say snake.
Yeah, or like anytime you get to like a really long ladder.
Elden Ring, ladder, snake. Yeah,
yeah.
Elden Ring players have one brain cell.
Yep. Yeah, I've been kind of like going all over the place. I got a lot of notes of what I've been playing, but so I talked about picking up No Man's Sky when it was on sale. I did like start part of it on PC, and then I was like, okay, now like give it a go, try to play it some more, and I'm in like that. You're on like the tutorial planet. Essentially, it's like, okay, you spawn in, your ship's broken.
What mode are you playing on? Just out of curiosity.
So
I know what you're talking about.
Normal mode, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
It's like start solo.
Scrub. Okay.
Like I don't know what. You mean like difficulty, like hardcore survival or normal? Okay. Oh, I just picked normal because I was like, I got to learn this first,
Okay.
I thought about like re-rolling maybe and doing like a hardcore run because I thought about it. I was like, oh, I like survival aspects, but I'm like, I'm glad I didn't because, like, I was in there. I was like, okay, find the stuff, but yada yada yada. It's like, okay, you got to build a thing, and then at one point, it's like, okay, go find the settlement. They got a thing there. You gotta. It gives you a blueprint for something, and then it's like, okay, now go install this on your ship. And I'm like, the fuck's my ship? I was like, I can't find it, and I like the thing I'm installing is to help my visor find stuff, and I'm like, I don't know where my ship is, and thank God, like, it's priority in the draw distance, so like, I just go up to a high spot because like the place I had to go to was up on a hill, and I go up on the high spot, and I look at, I'm like, okay, my ship's red, thank God, I got the swordfish, so it's like I can see it in the distance, like I go to it, but like that game is fucking menus on menus, man. I'm like, and especially when it's like, oh, craft something. I'm like, okay, clearly there must be like a crafting menu. It's like, no, you got to go to your inventory, you click on the highlighted box, and then you craft the item, and then you do that. And I'm like, what? It's like, why isn't there just like a crafting? Why can't I pin some of the stuff and just go straight to it? It's like, it's so weird, like how menu driven that, and I can't change my perspective on the fly, which is really annoying. It's like, oh, you want to like in a Bethesda game or any other game with a third and first person? It's like, no, you got to hit up and then go over to the settings and then go over to your perspective icon and then switch it and then do it that way. And it's like, okay, even though I first person is not that great in that game, I think I got to change like my FOV maybe. So I've just been in third person, but yeah. And then I was like, okay, I'll do that. You know, yada yada. Go around. I get off the little planet. Oh, and one thing too that I noticed in like that game where if I just hold a direction and I run, like I'm running up this hill, but I'm kind of running diagonally. And typically in games, like you just stay on that diagonal. But like my character must be bumping into like little rocks or some shit because then they like slightly change course and they're no longer running exactly the direction in which I had them initially. It's like they keep getting bumped slightly and nudged. And I'm like, they're no, and I'm like, I felt like I was going crazy. I was like, why are you not staying on the path? Like just, you know, go Zank Yandar and Dungeons and Dragons. Just go over the rock. You know, like it's not that big. Just walk in the line. So that was bugging me. But luckily it didn't seem to persist past the tutorial. So I fix a ship. You know, get off the planet. It's like, oh, there's a radio signal. You go to the second planet. I land down. So I'm there. Like I went explored, looked for a signal, found some stuff, and then I'm doing like now it's tutorializing. Oh, you got to build a base now. It's like it's a little. It reminds me of a lot of Satisfactorio, where like when I started that, the tutorial is very much like, okay, let's start from ground zero, and then you got to build everything one by one. It's really kind of like you could skip it in every subsequent playthrough, just be like, okay, this is kind of like it's just teach me the basics. But this is like, okay, you got to farm this and get this, and you got to get that. Has the one thing I'm curious though, has the terrain destroyer part of the little gun always been a thing since day one? Like that red faction destruction of the environment?
I think so, yeah.
That's
like the
fucking
mining
awesome.
tool thing?
Not that
Yeah.
like when the mining tool, like
terrain
you swap
tool,
it,
like
and like you dig, like to get the ore,
So-
like to get copper, you need it. But like you destroyed ground, you could dig tunnels.
yeah, they've tweaked. I'm having trouble remembering. So that's always existed, but they've tweaked what things are affected by it, and I'm gonna have a really hard time remembering. Like now you can use it for mining certain things, but I think that when you
Mhm.
use it for mining, you don't get as many resources as when you use like your beam. So it's like you can make it super large and you can mine with it, and you get far less resources when you mine with it and it's super large, or you can make it super small, and if you mine with it, then you get far more resources. So there's a balance of like how it works. I want to, and I might be wrong here, but I want to say when the game first came out, it only affected terrain, and it wasn't like a mining tool, and it terrain was destructible, but they've definitely upgraded and changed how the terrain destruction works since the game came out.
Yeah, when I was first doing it, because like they tell you like, oh, you got to get some copper. So it's like, okay, now you've made the destruction bit. Hit triangle to switch it, and then go over and destroy the copper. In the tutorial, I'm like, okay, I'm destroying the copper. It's like chunks nodes getting taken off, whatever. But then I realized like, oh, I'm also once the copper got cleared out, I'm digging the ground out, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then later at one point, it's like, okay, you got to build a shelter. It's like tutorial, like put down a floor, but I put down like 4 floor pieces to make like a bigger surface area for the house. But then I ran out of materials, and it's like, storm incoming, and the storm's like 160 degrees Fahrenheit for some reason. So I'm like, okay, my suit's slowly dying, and then I'm like, what if I just do this? And I just like dug a hole in the ground, and then I got out, and I like found some underground water. But then like I got out because I did that. I got out of the heat, so I was safe. I was like, that's fucking awesome, man. I was like, just dig it. But yeah, you're right. It's nice having that because you can just destroy like swaths of stuff. Like I want to clear out all these trees and these rocks. But yeah, I noticed like I'm not getting for some things. I felt like I wasn't getting any resources. But then I did notice like yeah, it was like super whatever that base metal is that you get, ferrite or I forget what it is. But like you get very little of that when you use that just big destruction because it's just like
Yeah.
mass destroying things. But it's fun. It's like, dude, because like I know like Battlefield has a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as like Red Faction. Typically, Battlefield is just buildings, but like to destroy the terrain was just awesome. But yeah, so I'm playing some of that, and then again, menus on menus drive me crazy in that game. It's like, oh, go in here and build this thing, and I'm like, luckily there are like quick allocation, like, oh, you want to build this? I can just quickly allocate, or I want to like refill my suit power or my laser beam. It's like I can just quickly allocate resources, but then it's like it still makes me select the resource I want to quickly allocate, which annoys me. I'm like, just take what I got, man, please. But yeah, it's a lot of menus. I'm like, I feel like I can't. It isn't going to be a controller game because I was kind of playing like keyboard and then controller, and then keyboard and mouse and then controller. And because of the menus, I think it's going to be an only keyboard mouse game for me. Just because I'm like, it's too much, man, it's too much. I'm sure it's one of those things where definitely like, if I had played it from the start, they probably expanded on like maybe stuff you can do and yada yada, and improved the UI and what have you. And or alternatively, if I just stick with it for like 10 hours straight, I'll be fine. But like the crafting thing was really throwing me off because I played so many games of crafting. I'm like, why isn't there just a dedicated like crafting tab? Why do I have to click on an inventory slot? Like, I guess the idea is because you have limited slots, you want to make sure you're clicking, you have availability to craft the thing. And it's like, okay, I guess since I'm on my person, that's fine. Because typically the crafting machine they make you make the refinery thing, it's like it stays there if you can't take it. Or alternatively, you can send it to your ship. But yeah, and like looting crates, and it's like, okay, you found something. Oh, do you want to put it on yourself or on your ship? And I'm like, can I just like have like a hot button to push to like just pick it up, please, and just put it in my inventory? Don't make me drag and click. And then I forgot that this game came out so long ago that it suffers from the Destiny circle and having to hold to
Oh
confirm
God,
stuff.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no. No. I'm like, I can't escape the circle, man. Like I have to deal with that
My
in the menus
favorite.
of Far Cry, and that's so annoying. But
Yeah, that is rough for that game.
yeah.
And we'll just say unfortunate.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I am having fun playing that. I'll definitely, I feel like it could be one of those like cozy games, just kind of go in and play. Now that I've got kind of the tutorial bit, like obviously I'm still in the tutorial, I feel like, because they're making me like learn about making a computer and making a shelter and unlocking tech resources. And I unlock blueprints for like a portal, I guess, that you can teleport from other places and outposts. But I was like, okay, I figured once I get through that, maybe I can re-roll and skip the tutorial, or maybe you still have to do it regardless. I don't know. And then maybe play it on hardcore to make it a little better. But I'm like, I don't know if I want like, do they limit your inventory space more on hardcore too, right?
I mean, sort of, in the sense that like I think materials don't stack quite as high, but I mean everything stacks really high still. You're talking about like instead of stacking to like 9,000, things stack to like 1,000 or something. But hardcore isn't really that different, to be honest, aside from like the first half an hour of the game or like the first hour of the game. Once you actually get into the groove, hardcore is not really challenging at all or different at all.
Yeah, so maybe I'll re-roll if I want to redo the opening bits again. But there was like this one like Venus flytrap plant on this planet that I hate because like its hitbox is much bigger than the surface area it takes up. I'm like, how are you hitting me, man? I was like, stop it! Bust out my terrain destroyer. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want your oxygen.
Little chomp.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how he chomps you from so far away, man. But and then I'm curious too, like when you're on that starting planet and you have to fill, like I see ships go by, I'm wondering like, are those actual players or is it just ambiance to like get the player feeling like they're in a shared universe? Because I'm like,
This ship. Do you want me to just answer that?
I mean, I'm sure it's just fake shit.
Yeah,
right?
it's just ambiance. Though you
'Cause
you can't really see other ships go by, but like you can't interact with other players in a capacity. But yeah, it's basically just ships going by.
Yeah, because my assumption would be like if they were players, I would see their PSN tag or something, or their tag or whatever, their Steam ID. But yeah, I might re-roll. It's interesting that so they have like jump in solo and they have like a join. If you click join, does it just take your character progress from your single player into their game, or do you just go in kind of like as a quote unquote player, but you have the same unlocks that they do at the time of their save?
Honestly, I've never tried.
Okay. Yep. But yeah, I played some of that. Again, not too far, just kind of chipping away at it. And then I had like 5.5 hours the other day to. That's kind of when I was playing it to figure out like the kids and the wife were at a baseball game with the in-laws, and I was like, okay, I have decision paralysis on what the fuck I want to play. It's like I couldn't really decide what to do. I was like, okay, I hopped into Once Human, played a little bit of that for a minute, and I got out. And then I was like, okay, did a little bit of No Man's Sky. I was trying to figure out, I was like, okay, I could play more Talos Principle 2. I was trying to figure it out, maybe actually start Sons of the Forest proper. But I was like, you know what, let's, since I have the time, let's just play Elden Ring and get myself in my NG Plus playthrough to the point I need to get to the DLC. So I was watching a video because I'm like, okay, the getting to Moog, I was like, what's the fastest way to do that? It's like, aside from just playing through it normally, it's like, okay, yada yada. And someone's like, oh, you can just do the I keep wanting to say Varric, but whatever the
Var.
NPC is, Var, yeah, whatever, do his thing, like go invade 5 people or kill this one NPC invader, and then go talk to him, kill a maiden, and whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll go talk to him because I had to go through. I was still in the castle. I beat it was Godric's the second boss there, the Dragon Arm. Beat Dragon Arm easy. It's funny. Like I'm like, God, these guys are like really easy. I don't know if it's because, and not like they're taking extra damage from NG Plus. Just I feel like, I guess because they technically are like the first 2 bosses. I'm like, damn, these guys are fucking easy. But so I beat them, and then I'm like, okay, now I gotta I want to get to Moog because I'm like, okay, because the video I was watching, like I knew before this, like, oh, you have to beat Radahn and then Moog. But when I watch this video, like the quickest ways to get to DLC, he's like, method 1 is to do this. It's like the standard method to get to Moog. And it's like method 2 is just do this guy's side quest, and he teleports you there. But he skipped over the fact that reminding you in this section that you have to beat Radahn. So I didn't even think about it. Just like, okay, I'll do this guy's quest. I tried invading, but I only did local. I didn't do like broad or whatever, and like it wasn't finding anything. I'm like, okay, I'll play offline. I'll just go kill this NPC. It's in the plateau, so I'm just gonna speed run getting the Lift of Dectus medallions. Got those real quick. It's funny because like Kaled, I'm like, okay, I don't want to, because it's NG Plus. I didn't have any fast travel points in Limgrave really, except up through the castle, and that was it. And then like one right next to him in Lernia in the lakes. And I'm like, okay, quickest way to get to that place in Kaled is I'll just take that teleport chest that puts you in that one cave, and then I run out. But I'm like, oh, I still have to run down through the swamp, the rot swamp, and then go around. I'm like, it could have been faster if I just went to the castle front and then just ran up the top of Limgrave and then over into Kaled. So anyways, I did that. I'm like trying to think of ways to get it fast. Get the Lift of Dectus, go up to there, speed run to the guy I have to kill, invade him, kill him, go back to the dude, and he's like, okay, kill a maiden. And I guess you can either find a corpse in a church or that one girl whose father's at that castle in the south of Limgrave, and I just killed her. I'm like, well, I'll just kill you, because then it just bloodies the thing. And he sends me there to Moog. I run up, I kill Moog, or yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I gotta touch the hand, and like, there's no prompt, or no, I beat him, and then I go out, buy the DLC, download it. Okay, log back in. Let's go touch the hand. Can't touch the hand. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I can't touch the hand. I'm like, okay, why can't I touch the hand? So I go Google. I'm like, can't get to the DLC. Yada yada yada. People are like, oh, make sure that the game and the DLC are on the same hard drive. I'm like, fuck, because my DLC downloaded to my M.2 or to my base hard drive, but Elden Ring's on my M.2. And I'm like, okay, transfer Elden Ring to the console hard drive from the M.2. Now they're on the same. Restart the PS5. Go back in. It says Shadow of the Erdtree in the bottom. Okay. Go into the game. Can't touch the hand. I'm like, what the hell? And then I look, I'm like, how do you access? Like, oh, there's an NPC. I'm like, there's no NPC. No one's standing there. I was like, what did I do wrong? And then I'm
Oh,
like,
shit.
I went here and I'm like, I did it. And then I'm like, well, the guy didn't talk about Radon, and I know it's a requirement. I'm like, okay, I'll just go kill Radon. So I'm like, okay, when does the festival start? It's like, oh, it starts when you get the lift of Dectus benign. I'm like, okay, I did that. So I just go straight to the festival, go right in, kill Radon real fast. That guy's super easy. I don't know why he gave me a little bit of trouble the first time through. Whatever, kill Radon. And then I go back and it's like, okay, now the NPC's there. I'm like, oh, thank God. And it's like, so even though I speed ran to get to Moog, like I should have killed Radon, and the guy should have clarified his video better. Anyways, so yeah, so I started doing the DLC. I beat the first boss in the, well, I don't know if it's the first boss, but like the boss in the first castle you get to, the like dancing dragon, whatever their name is.
Mhm.
I beat them, and then I'm also trying I wanted okay, how can I emulate Lies of P combat in Elden Ring? And I was like, okay, well, I got a small shield, like a little buckler, in my offhand, so it has a nice, like, more forgiving, I guess, parry window, but it's just not the same. And I'm like, I tried it on like one of those big guys, the big soldiers with like the funky horns, and they usually have like twin blades or a single blade. I'm like, okay, those guys are kind of big. They have kind of a, pretty easy to see attack patterns. And I'm like, okay, parry kind of works. It's not perfect. I don't like how I have to hold R2 to do it instead of just hitting a button like in Liza P. Like it's just or Sekiro, just to time perfectly. So I'm probably just gonna drop that and not do it because it's a little rough to do. But yeah, I beat that boss. That boss was a little annoying. I'm realizing the other thing too, outside of combat and just preferring Liza P, is that the giant flailing bosses just aren't that fun to me.
The humanoid bosses are definitely the most fun that I have. Even
Mhm.
just like I've said before, I'm a person who likes exploring rather than like beating my head against the boss, but I feel like every time I come across a humanoid type boss, even if it's like a big, like tall person, those fights are always way more fun than the big
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
monster things.
Yeah, I feel like it's like because like obviously you can't parry every boss, and usually it's like you have to parry a couple times to actually get them to riposte or whatever in Elden Ring. It's like, okay, I guess I could do that. And like Lies of P is very similar. Like you could perfect parry, but they're not always gonna, break them. You have to kind of build up that stagger. And like that's fine. But I just feel like much like Sekiro is kind of built around the block mechanic and the different parries they have in the game, either like the jump parry or the strafe parry, whatever you got. Like it's built into that game from the ground up. But because there's so many different ways to play Elden Ring, it's like the universal constant is just roll. Or
Mhm.
jump. And I don't jump. I'm so rolling's too baked in. So I'm like, I'm not finding, and you can obviously roll in Liza P, but the main mechanic is the perfect parry block system. And so I feel like I'm way more engaged in those boss fights. Whereas the dragon, like he's flailing around, like, okay, okay, dodge, dodge. And I hate the concrete spit that he does. That I'm like, this is so annoying, this move. I hate it so much. And then it's like, because so many times I'm locked on and dude's flailing around that my camera gets all fucked up and I can't see what moveset he's doing, and then he bites me, and I'm like, okay, now I'm dead. Or I get rolled into a corner because rolling when you're locked down is so annoying. But it's like, okay, now he's doing the spin spit, and I'm like, oh, I can't tell that he's doing it. So then I take a bunch of damage, and then now a bunch of lightning, just roll out of the way of the lightning. Oh, okay, that's fun. Like I'm sure if you had like a lightning shield, you could just hold the shield, but that fight was a little annoying. But luckily, it only took me a couple times to get through it. But yeah, I'm just like, man, this ain't it. Like when I did, like even Radon felt fine, despite just destroying him. Like it was, he's on his horse, so he's like still on the ground. He does big swipes, and he just kind of roll, dodge, whatever. And then even Dragon Arm guy, like that felt fine. But just something about this boss, like flying, because there are like big bosses in Lies of P, that do, or even small bosses that do crazy moves, and some big bosses that do like sweeping moves or giant moves that you gotta watch out for. But you just like you tell they're coming, and you could still do the parry block to dodge it. And I wish it was there. But anyways, so that boss was a little frustrating. But now I just ran around last night, kind of looking for um, the the fragments or whatever that you have to use,
Mhm.
Segura tree fragments or whatever. So I'm like just run around the place, and then I think I ran around one part of the map, like, you get that first half of the map unlocked, and the second one, like, I'm trying to run far enough to where it shows me where the pedestal is that I have to get the actual map unlocked. But it was funny when I was in the castle, I get to that place where like, oh, this is just the Nightmare of Mensis. I'm like, this is that zone Zaya doesn't like. Like this is the area. Because
I
I'm
was
like,
gonna say, ironically, the boss that you've done, I haven't done it yet because I haven't gone through that area.
okay, so
It's
you haven't fought.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I know the boss. I've seen it before, and Michael's
Mhm.
gonna help me through that area. But it's that exact moment where I opened the doors and I looked up and I went, "Nope,
Yep.
no,
Yeah.
thank
Just
you."
the like they're scorpions, but they look a little more speeder like. But yeah, there's like
They're
it was
literally
funny.
called spider scorpions. Like there's an
Okay, I didn't even
area.
look at the name.
Yeah, there's an area later where like there's a lot of them, kind of like all around, and it's literally called like Spider Scorpion River or something like that. I was like, "Oh, good."
Spider Scorpion River.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Perfect
Clever.
for you.
Clever
I was
title.
like, "Good, good. I'm so glad."
Yeah. Yeah, what's sometimes I wonder too, like game design wise, like the little ones, I'm like, why are they here? Like whenever there's one part of the
To
castle
be
where like
gross, literally. That's it.
I guess, but I'm like, they're not hard to kill, and so they're just like an annoying little obstacle. I'm like, why are you here? It's like the dogs are like way more annoying in Elden Ring. Like I hate the dogs. I mean, I hate the dogs too in Bloodborne, but like he's like, there's two dogs, they're obnoxious. It's like okay, but like the little scorpions, I'm like, I don't know what purpose you serve. Like you're just here as like fodder essentially. Like you don't do anything. It's so weird.
I mean, it's the same as the hand enemies. There's like the big
Yeah.
ones that you actually fight, and then there's just the little ones that are just there to be like, "Ah, what is that? Oh God!" Like the
Yeah, I
shock
suppose.
factor or whatever. Like you walk in and they're like coming down the stairs or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, what is that?"
I guess like the one spot where I found him where I thought like, why are you here? They do kind of leave like if you kill them and you go into the room, there's like two big ones in the room and there's some items in there. It's like, okay, it's letting you know that if these are here, there's probably big ones. It's kind of like that player feedback of, hey, here's this enemy type, bigger ones around the corner.
Yeah.
The birds are annoying. There's like these birds with like these stone armor or whatever that are in that later in that castle. I hate those guys. I hate the bird enemies. Like I like they
Bad
have that.
news, they are everywhere.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well at least I got the magic bow, so I can just try to blast them from a distance. I'm like, that's where I missed the Liza P like leash scorpion kid over here ability to be like, just take me to you really quick so I can take you down. But yeah, yeah, and run around is fun, but it's, I'm curious how like the normal enemies seem fine, but yeah, sometimes it's like I get in spots from like the normal like it's like boss or whatever, but like I hate when I get into like a just surrounded by some normal enemies that are just obnoxious, and I'm like, come on, man. It's like
Yeah.
I'm in a small space, like I'm like I don't miss this. Like you have that in Liza's P, but I felt like because of the mechanics in that game, like I was like, okay, this is I can get out of this real easy. But yeah, I was just like, all right, he's good. But yeah, run around. It's nice seeing like big sections. I ran through one area. It was like I came across where it was like a foundry, I guess. And there's like these stone guys, and like they're telegraphed weak spots on their back. You see like a red gem. I haven't actually killed one because they take too long to die. I'm like, okay, I'm not wasting my time. I'm sure they drop like a smithing stone or something, but like I went down there and like you got like all that was in the dungeon was like it was a weapon that you pick up. I'm like, okay, no boss, just a weapon, I guess.
Oh yeah, those are cool. They're like little puzzle dungeons, I guess.
Yeah, because you had to like lower this pipe, or it's like a drill pipe or whatever, and then you go up, and it's like, okay, you got it. And that was interesting. But yeah, I got to go across that main bridge and then go up through that castle area. Yeah, because when you go in that first castle, it's like there's like a dead end part, and it's like, oh, you need this to progress. I'm like, okay, I guess I can't progress further right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, because when I killed that one boss and it kept going up, I'm like, okay, clearly this is just phase one of this zone. And it's just like the castle in Lingrave, right? There's two bosses you fight. So yeah, I'll keep going there. So I'll probably just play Shadow of the Erdtree now, maybe bounce back and forth between that and perhaps No Man's Sky or something. But yeah, it's luckily not too bad getting back into it. It's just it's again, I really should go back after this and just redo Sekiro all the way through and see how that goes. But yeah, outside of that, it was funny. You're talking about you used the air fryer, or you got
Mhm.
one, whatever you're using a lot. I was using mine again recently because I was buying frozen salmon fillets because they're not that expensive. They're actually pretty cheap. Um, and like the other week, I had like cooked some, and I was like, usually because the sink had some dishes I had to take care of, I was like, okay, well, I can't put the basket. Well, one, I let it cool down in the unit, and then I'll put the basket in the soak, uh, and take care of it if the sink, one side of the sink is empty. I was like, I'll get to it later, because I cooked like I was working at home, so like okay, I'll just cook it lunch real quick, and then I'll take care of it later that night. I spaced out on it, and then like a couple days later, I'm like, all right, let's cook up some salmon. And so like I get out my salmon fillets and I oil them up. I get all the seasoning on them and ready to go. I open up the tray and it's just like dried salmon from the last
Oh
time I cooked.
no.
I was like, ah. And what's worse is like I did the preheat while I was prepping the salmon.
Oh no.
So it was just hot, dried salmon on the basket. It's like, oh damn it, I forgot to take it out. I'm like, you know what? I just took the basket out, took a paper towel, and just kind of like scraped off the, almost like if it was a grill, and just like scraped off the stuff and like wiped it down real quick. And I'm like, all right, it's just salmon. I'm just gonna put it back in, just cook it, and it'll be fine. I'm not gonna die. But it was like I was so bummed to like, because typically I've never forgotten to clean the basket, but I was like, I forgot to clean it. Oh no. There we go. Soundboard.
We found the soundboard.
Yep. But yeah, I was like, damn it, I didn't clean the basket. I was like, well, I should be good. But
We've
so
been
that
pretty
was
good about it so far. Usually, what we'll do is after we're done cooking something, we'll leave the basket kind of out a little bit
Mhm.
so it can cool down and kind of like also remind us that it was recently used. So, like, I'll usually check it before I put the basket back in. So, it's like if I just cooked, I don't know, chicken nuggets or something, I'll just put it back in. But if we cooked salmon or shrimp or something like that in it, or like chicken, I'll look in it and be like, oh, it's yucky, and I'll just wipe it out.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's not too hard to clean. The one thing that's annoying to clean is like, and I don't know how it happens because I usually typically cook like chicken breasts or like frozen like potatoes or like veggie mixed medley kind of stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
And like in between like the slats of the basket will sometimes get like crud in it, and I don't know how because it's not like I'm filling it up with stuff that would get there or like a liquid that would cause it to get there. I'm like, and cleaning out in between those is just super obnoxious. I'm like, you need like a little brush because you don't want to brush it too hard because then you'll damage it. And it's just like cleaning that spot out. It's like, I don't know how you got like this, man. It's like I feel like it's just the moisture of the food coming off and like condensating on the side, but then burning away that moisture and then just getting it. But it's not like all over. It's just like in some small spots, whatever. But yeah, but luckily, like
Yeah.
just again, throw in the sink and soak it. I think you can throw it in the dishwasher, like top rack. I'd never done that. I just always hand clean it. But yeah, so at least you just like throw it in, soak it, and then you're good later. But
Yeah, I think we hand wash it, but I think we've only deep hand washed it like a couple times after we've cooked, I don't know, like chicken breast or shrimp or whatever. But usually most of the time we just wipe it out and it's totally fine.
yeah,
It's
sometimes I'll
brand new, so that'll wear off quickly, I'm sure.
yeah, sometimes I'll use just like depending on cooking, I'll do like the aluminum foil and just put it in there so you don't have to worry about cleaning the basket. But it's like it has to be something that's like okay, that's not gonna like veggies on there or French fries or something. But like typically any sort of meat I won't do. I'll just do on the basket so it cooks thoroughly. But yeah, I like the air fryer. I was using that because there's like a long stretch where I was using the Instant Pot for chicken breast.
Mhm.
And then the air fryer. The downside though is of course like the heat. I mean, it's not too hot when it kicks out. Like it doesn't vent that much heat, but like the smell, it still does a lot of that smell.
Mhm.
But yeah, then the other benefit is that I don't have to worry about the Instant Pot like having a rational fear of it just exploding the top off of it or something.
Oh,
Like,
good. I'm glad
"Boy."
I'm not the only one that is like worried when it does like the steam when it's pressuring up and then it just stops. It's like it does that when
I
things are
feel
about
like
to explode.
everyone that uses an Instant Pot must have that fear. I have that fear too, constantly, that it's just going to explode on me.
I've seen too many Reddit clips of people trying to open up the Instant Pot without letting it cool down first or vent, and then just boom, big old explosion.
Your
of steam and
intrusive thought, like
moisture.
as soon as you start the Instant Pot, it's like you could visualize it just exploding out of nowhere, and you're like,
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, And then the benefit is like the Instant Pot I'd always use at my old place. I put it on I had a cutting board that I'd put on top of the grill, and then I just use it outside. That way, the smell of it cooking, because it might take a prolonged amount of time. Also to vent, it vents all that steam outside, not inside. So I using the air fryer is better for that, because then I don't have to worry about too much of the like moisture getting everywhere and gotta vent it out and what have you. But yeah, I like the air fryer a lot. I use it a bunch. I've air fried a tri-tip before. That worked out pretty well. Wasn't bad at all. I was wondering how, because usually I barbecue tri-tip, but I was like, you know what, I'll try a air frying tri-tip, and yeah.
We haven't tried tri-tip yet. We made burgers in it one day. Try to make burgers, but we haven't really tried anything else. I think Michael said he wanted to try lamb chops, because those, when you cook those, they can dry out really easily. So that might be really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
The only
hungry.
thing.
Yeah, all this talk about food,
Yeah, we'll wrap up.
fried food and food. Great.
Yeah, I got to go through some of it. So I discovered there's this brand of I guess you call it like protein products called Legendary. I think Target has them. They were on sale a while ago. It's like a box for like $7.99 or something like that. I was like, okay, because then that made it was like 4 pastries per box. I was like, that's $2 per pastry. It's not bad for like a protein bar price wise. I was like, okay, and they had like really good macros for the calorie split, and I was like, okay, so I tried them out, and yeah, I tried the chocolate and the strawberry one, and they're really good. Like, and you can eat them cold, and they're fine, or you can like throw them in the microwave for like 10 minutes, and like the filling, they had the chocolate or strawberry filling inside, gets a little bit warm for being in the microwave, and it's really good that way. And they, like I said, they taste really good. Like, one of the issues I always have with like protein bars or stuff like that is like, it's difficult if their calorie balance is good with the amount of protein they have to taste good. Otherwise, it'll just be like a high calorie count because they have sugar in it or something to make it to offset that taste. And there's a little bit of that, a little bit of the chalky taste that you can get from like protein, depending on what kind of protein they use. That they just use protein powder, what have you. But there is a little bit of that. But overall, they're really good. I like them a lot. I wouldn't buy them because they're $10 a box normally, and there's only 4. I'm like, that's still kind of pricey for a protein bar.
That's
essentially
a lot.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'll probably only get them when they're on sale again. But yeah, they're good. I like them a lot. I know they make like a cinnamon roll protein version as well. I haven't tried those, but I like the Legendary Pop-Tarts that they have. They're really good. I like them. I haven't tried all of theirs, but I just wanted to give those a shout out because it's nice to have a really good protein bar alternative that, again, has great macros, because I feel like that's the problem I run into. It's either not worth it, or they just taste like trash. It's
Cardboard, like
That is the
soggy
dilemma.
cardboard.
That is the dilemma.
And the price. Yeah, because I know like Snickers makes a protein bar that's supposed to be like really good, and it has like a pretty decent.
I bet Snickers makes a protein bar that's good.
I'll eat a Snickers protein bar.
It has a good macro mix. The problem is like they're fucking expensive, and it's like I'm not paying that money for a protein bar. But
Snickers? I need to Google this now.
Yeah, I forget what they're called.
That sounds like a nice
Snickers
little treat
bar,
for me.
But they do not carry it everywhere.
Snickers.
Again,
they don't carry them anymore?
It's not they're not available like at all. It's because it's not a candy bar, so they're not available at just any place. Like I have to buy them online, like from Amazon or something.
Snickers high protein bar original.
I wonder if they sold them at
Wow, they
GNC
actually
or something.
Damn.
I don't know.
I mean, they're kind of high calorie.
Yeah, I haven't looked at them in a bit.
They're high calorie. They're decent fat. I mean, they're not really much worse than like an RX bar or something.
Yeah, let me see if this is the one on Amazon. Yeah, because like $41 for this 12-pack, and I'm like, that's fucking insane.
That's too much.
Yeah, I'm not spending that money.
It seems like it's more of a like meal replace bar than just a like protein bar.
Yeah,
Maybe
I mean
that's why they're so expensive.
I guess, but yeah, they're not priced that well. I'm trying to see.
I mean, I would eat these for like a hiking snack or something. Like a high calorie fatty thing for hiking would be great.
Yeah, because they're like this one here, like the high protein, low sugar ones, like
20 grams of protein
and 232 well, because I think this was like a UK version, was like essentially 230 calories. And I'm like, okay. Like it's not like typically in protein bars and anything with protein, I try to look for that for every 10 calories, at least 1 gram of protein. And if I can, which is why I like the legendary, because they're more. I think it's like 180 calories, and they are. Let me look it up real quick. Just to, it's 180 calories and 20 grams of protein. So it's like it already fits that criteria of having more. That's why I like things like chicken, salmon. I didn't realize there were so many different cuts of salmon. I was like chicken's like just chicken, but like I'm like, oh, is it Atlantic salmon? Is it this salmon? Is it from Alaska? It's like why are they so different? Like they not all of them are created equal across like calories to protein.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it so different, man? And it's like, which is super annoying because like the reason I wanted to get them because the price is good, but also because like this is one of the reasons I don't get beef all the time is because the macros aren't great on beef, and it's like chicken's so good because like 120 or 170 calories for like a really good amount of protein per serving. But anyway, but yeah, what else do I have here? I'm trying to look see if I have any other notes. Really, because I tried to take a bunch of stuff down. Oh, so I picked up a Elgato Wave 3, because on sale for Elgato had their Prime sales or what have you, and they continue those sales past Prime as well. But man, I guess like so the way I have my setup is my old mic was plugged into a hub along with my keyboard. That goes to my work computer and my computer. So when I'm working from home, I could just hit the button. It's essentially a cam switch and just switches over everything over to my work computer. And on my old mic, not a problem. But like I did it last night just to test something, and I guess because it's USB-C into the mic and it has like software support, like my computer was not happy with me that I hit that switch. I'm like,
what
really?
have you done?
You're this upset about a USB switch? Like I've done it 100 times, but it was a different. Like it was so upset with me, and I was like, okay. I had like complete reboot, shut down. Like it was just not happy at all. So that was weird. And I'm like, if that gives me problems going forward, I'll probably just have to hook this. The cord that came with it is pretty long. I'll probably just have to hook it directly up to this PC, and then if I want, either just use my headset mic for when I'm at home, when I'm working from home, or just plug in my my old mic directly into my laptop's little power or brick hub that comes with it, and just do it that way. But yeah, we'll see how this mic goes. I mean, I've been wanting a Wave 3 for a long time. I just was waiting for him to go on sale. I figured, you know what? Might as well jump on it right now. But yeah, you gonna say something?
No.
It just sounded like it. It sounded like you unmuted to say something, but you didn't. But yeah, not much else on my list here. Just man. So we've complained like how ending explain videos are so dumb for things that don't need any. Like I saw one for like The Boys season 4 ending explain. I'm like, you don't need explanations. Like it was very straightforward. Like what do you need to explain? But then I saw like so Twisters is, came out, a new movie, and it's like an article saying how to watch. And I'm like, when we were in the heights of COVID and there were movies that were going straight to VOD to skip the theaters, how to watch made sense. But it's like now everything typically it's like it's direct to theaters if it's not a Netflix or show or whatever. It's like how to watch. You watch it in the theaters. Like that's how you watch the movie. Like why are people doing it? Like it's the dumbest. It's like as bad, if not worse, than Ending Explained. I don't know why.
I don't know if I agree, because I will say there are some movies that come out simultaneously now, and sometimes they cost $20 or $30 to rent, which is insane. But then there are like the select few that cost like $5 to rent despite just coming out. And I do appreciate when I know that like a new movie came out, it's simultaneous release on streaming, and it is a cheap rental price as opposed to a $30 rental price.
Yeah, but I feel like the amount that are now is so small. Like it's never the big budget movies. Like, it's not like Dune 2 or Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be that. It's so rare, and it's usually smaller things. It's like if the movie actually has that option, fine, do it. But they do this for movies that like don't have a VOD option as well. It's like, again, going back to the ending explain of like straightforward ending, complex ending. It's like, just do it when it's a complex ending. Don't write these articles for stuff that's straightforward. Don't do it for movies that are only in theaters. Like it's not just IGN. Like it's so many other outlets. Like, because anytime I see it, my assumption is the reason you write that article is, like you said, because there is an option to watch it on Vudu Movies at Home or something, or some streaming service. And I click on it, and what do they say? It's only available in theaters. So then I was like, okay, you're just the, out the news place that cried movies at home. Like they're never at home. It's like, it's every time it feels like it's always, for the big movies, it's always at theaters. So I don't know how to watch
Slow
Mad
news
Max Furiosa. Yeah, right. But yeah, it's just frustrating. And then, man, the other thing that's been bugging me lately is anytime I find like a new React channel, and it's a reactor who actively pauses the film to talk about something, which can be okay if it's not for a long time. But then when I found someone who, like, they were watching a movie and they would pause it to speculate about something and wonder about the world. And I'm like, if you just watched it for 10 more seconds, the answers are right there. And so they have like this 30-second discussion and they watch and they go, oh, there's my answer. I'm like, yeah, if you just waited, they'd explain it to you. You don't need to stop like 5 minutes in. Or
But
like,
that's the whole point of React videos. And then if you don't react, you're just watching the video. It's like, it's such a dumb concept. I hate it.
Well, no, it's like, because typically reactors, like, they won't pause. They'll say it and you're like, oh, I wonder why this. But it's while they don't pause the video to speculate and talk about it. Like the video is still active, or it's a moment where they cut the video to avoid copyright. They cut the main video out and they talk about it as it's still playing, and then it picks back up. This is just someone who's paused entirely, which is not what 90% of the React channels do. It's like these weird, unique. It's like the people who listen to music for the first time, and there's some who listen to it all the way through and then talk about it, and there's others who will listen, stop, talk about the chord progression, and they go back and listen to it again, and like
that.
And that's fine when it's like a music major or like a classic music person. Like that's their thing. I'm like, that's okay for some. I'll do that. But usually it's like, I just want you to listen to it, then talk about it. Like that's how most React channels are for movies. They just watch
I'll
it.
give you a hint. All the music, C major. Everything, C major.
But,
Done.
The same chord progression. But yeah, it was really annoying. I'm like, or like the worst part is because they do that, and then like they're watching Interstellar. And so the part where they're on Miller's planet and the wave comes crashing down and they waterlog the engine so they can't get off the planet. And then the person speculating, because they had so much time speculating earlier stuff, is that they missed that point entirely. So then they stop for like a minute wondering why this is going to cost them decades in time because they can't leave or whatever. It's like, what's the reason they can't leave? What is this? And like, they don't notice it at the time, but in the edit, they'll notice like, why can't they go? Is it because of this? Because it's like, they just said there's water in the engines. It's flooded. They can't start them. They have to wait for it to drain. And then in the edit, they notice that. So they put like in subtitles, like, yes, or, this is the reason. It's like, but it's like, if you knew that, just cut out this reaction then. Like, this bit doesn't need to be there of you speculating what will happen when you missed it entirely. Just cut that. You don't need that there. Like, why is it still in there? Just leave it alone. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to work on your edits there. But anyways. It's just a frustrating little annoyance. So like, otherwise, I'm like, this was overall a good reaction, except you doing these things here that are really annoying. But yeah, it's frustrating. Luckily, it's not everyone's like that. But so it's hard to always get into like new React channels sometimes when they come across my feed. That has to be like a movie I really like to give them a shot. But anyways,
just to see like, there's this one specific part I would like to see you react to, like.
Or like it's a movie that's like it's like or like watching like someone play a game that's story based. You go to like the big story based. Like this movie is a great reaction movie, and yeah, usually I'll be like, okay, how do they react? That's the worst too. Is like if a film has like a scene that's very popular, and like most people have it in their edited reaction. The ones who don't, or they super chop it up. I'm like, man, that's what the people want, man. Why did you super chop that up? It's like it. Obviously, I know they're doing it because it's probably copyright, but I feel like if everybody else can do it, it's like maybe cut some other parts of your video or something. But yeah, it's weird. Everything you got to do to dance around the edit so you don't get flagged. It's funny how what some people do and what some people don't. Different methods, but the people who just cut it and they don't do any volume pitching, they don't do any 5% zooms to throw off the the stuff or reverse the image. That always throws me off when people do it like halfway through. Some scenes will be reversed and some won't be, so they can kind of help get rid of that flag. But
It's
yeah,
so
anyways.
funny.
Yeah, the pitch ones are the worst because I'm like, I can't listen to it when they make the voices deeper or higher. It's like it's so frustrating. I'm like, I can't. It's because the characters don't sound like they're supposed to. I can't do this. Luckily, again, not everyone does that, and that's typically like an old school reaction method from like years ago. So their current stuff won't do it. It's just like I go in the back catalog. I'm like, all right, but anyways, enough of me ranting about React channels. It'll be fun because I thought like, it'd be fun to do that with my kid when he gets older, like to do React, or like I could see doing that like with my mom because she hasn't seen a lot of films. Like that'd be kind of fun to do just for fun, to get back in editing because I like editing, and then just to have it there because if you do it long enough and if it did take off, like I've seen so many channels who, compared to other reacts I've seen, aren't like the best, but they're still entertaining. And I'm like, they just do it for fun and they have like a big Patreon. And I'm like, because people like to vote in polls for what movies to watch because people love watching people watch movies they love. And like, if you're not super negative about something and you just like, it's rare that people don't like, because typically the movies they're watching are popular for a reason, right? They're not watching like trash. It's like, man, if you can get that revenue stream, like that seems real good, especially if you're just putting out like 2 movies reactions a week, or even just one, and then or just do a TV show and you have a Patreon exclusive where you don't do any edits. It's just the watch along on Patreon. It's like, man, you can just pull in some money. I was like, we should
You just watch along like in Discord or something with your patrons or some stuff like
well,
that.
it's more like it's the entire like I've done that for like channels that put up like, hey, it's their full reaction. They do a countdown to press play, and then you just press play at the same time in like a different browser window, and then you can hear that it's like a audio track to go with it. And usually, what I'll do is like, if I've seen the movie, and I kind of want to rewatch the whole movie, not just do the trimmed down version, I'll have their reaction full screen, and then I'll just minimize the movie and put it over their thing, like so that way it looks like the edited version where they're just watching it, and then I can have them react to the whole thing. Or like I've done that for some bitch like, oh, I didn't watch the new episode of The Boys yet or something, or a movie I hadn't seen. I was like, oh, I'll watch this movie for the first time with their video. Like I did that for Civil War.
You watch movies for the first time with React content at the same time?
Very rarely. It's funny. The first time I watched Barbie, I did it through purely a cut YouTube React version because I'm like, I'm not going to go to the movies. I'm not going to see this movie. I'll watch the React version to it. And there are channels that are really good about like they show the story beats in the cut, so like you can still follow the story along, not just like be confused where things are going. So like a good React channel will do that. So that was fun. And then I did end up watching, I think, the full thing later. But I was curious what that would be like, not seeing a movie and watching just the cut version of it. But then I also did for Civil War, it was the full movie. So I watched because typically React channels on their Patreons will release, like it's easy to release the watch along because it's just unedited and you just throw it up. There's no video. You have to watch the video yourself. Like I've been rewatching some Black Mirror with another React channel because they started doing Black Mirror. So I just have it open with their thing so I can hear them react to the same time. Yeah, because it's all queued up and it doesn't drift. So I'll do that. But I did that with Civil War again, just to watch the full thing with a React channel, just to watch along. Essentially, it's what it is. Like if we were to watch a movie on Discord or something, and it was fun. And that was a good movie. You said you watched it too. Definitely felt like a Last of Us in some parts of that.
Yeah, that movie kind of caught me off guard. I thought it would be more action flick based off of like current politics, things like that, and like a satire of it. And it actually had quite a few moments that really reminded me of Last of Us or like a dystopian country. It was pretty dark.
Yeah, I liked it too. It's just a movie about war photographers, but it just so happens the war's in the U.S. instead of being in another country.
Yeah, the focus on war photographers. I forgot his name, but the guy who's in Friday Night Lights, the guy with the I won't give too many spoilers, but
guy in Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I gotta Google his name.
The other photographer?
No, hold on, I'm googling the actor's name. Jesse Plemons.
Oh yeah, what kind of
Yeah,
Can I-
the scene with him was
Oh,
fucking great. That was
yeah.
like a really good scene that I was very, very pleasantly surprised by. The whole movie was great.
Yeah, when they go to that town, because they talk about how like it's they never specify like who's why they're fighting. They just talk about the Texas and California, the WHF, I think is what they are.
Wasn't that just the WF, just the Western
WF, the Western
Forces?
Front. Yeah, Western Forces. Yeah, so it's like them, and then they talk about like the mid US, like the middle band states that like just aren't, they're neutral, and they go to that town where it's almost like they just act like there's not a war going on in the country.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was nuts. It's like there's just people using water, people, it was crazy. It was like, but yeah, the gas station scene, I was like, this felt very Tlu, if like you could actually negotiate with any scavengers or whatever. But it's like,
Yeah,
this
no,
is tense.
I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't perfect. It definitely has its flaws, but the direction was really interesting. And honestly, just the biggest surprise to me was how little I expected it to be like what the movie actually is. Like,
Right, yeah.
like I said, I knew it was about photographers and wartime photographers, but I definitely thought the movie was still going to be more of a, just more of an action movie. And it really is not.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, I like that scene too when they come across the sniper in the house, and there's the two guys trying to counter snipe, and like, is he with the, like, they're trying to figure out what side he's on, and like, we don't know. He's shooting at us. We're shooting at him, and it's just like,
he's shooting at us, so we're just gonna shoot back and try to kill him.
Yep. Yeah, that was tense. But yeah, that was a good movie.
It was a very good movie. I liked it.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, we can go ahead and wrap it up. A lot of off-tangent stuff there, save for the end of the podcast. But all right. Well, hopefully we'll get some. Like I said, we'll see what happens with the. I'm curious if we'll hear more details about the Microsoft Bethesda contract deal. If they'll kind of publish those details out, so kind of give a blueprint for what they were able to achieve as a studio with Microsoft and how that might spawn. Because I could see like I feel like if anybody else did it, probably like Double Fine could do it potentially. And I'm curious who else. Obviously, Activision Blizzard, but yeah, curious who else. But anyways, all right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Isli. Thank you, Zai, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Later.
Bye.